Hello and welcome back to the Faz and Lowgy channel. Today you join me here in Skysaga. I'm going to be continuing working on my Coliseum today. Last time you may remember that we worked on this quarter of the Coliseum that you can see in front of you. We added some land, we added some beams, we added some holes in the walls, and then we also added a roof section as well. In the week I went and I copied that over to the other side, so let's take a look at what that looks like now. Here's another look at it from the opposite side. And now we're looking at the back of the Coliseum. This area is a lot more bland, a lot more grey, so we're going to need to be working on that this episode. So we've jumped all the way around to the back wall. Now this wall is huge, it's really, really tall, but it's very lacking of detail right now. So we need to get it detailed, we need to get it looking cool, and we're going to do that now. But first, we're going to add in some groundwork. So we're literally going to add in the groundwork by adding in the ground with green grass. That's what we're going to do. I've gone in here and I've added all of these green grass blocks. For anyone curious, these are just lime grass. It looks a little bit nicer than the other variant, which is moss grass. Now we're adding in that same wooden pattern of beams that we had around the front of the Coliseum. I wanted to keep things looking continuous around the base. Now we start detailing the walls. I wanted structures coming out of these walls to make them look more interesting. Around the front I just put windows in the walls, and I think that works because those walls are not nearly as big as these walls. These walls need much more than just windows. So I'm coming in with some grey blocks to build in some square structures into the circle structure of the total Coliseum itself. My idea was that the top tier of the Coliseum would have these small stairways down onto these small balcony parts at the top of these weird square structures. So you can see I've put the wood in there to create these balconies. I've also created a small balcony in between the two structures because I thought it would be nice to be able to walk between them. There's also a window at the bottom which will also be another balcony. There's going to be a lot of balconies. I added some supports to these structures at the bottom using the wood. And then I came in to shape some windows. Played around with a few roof ideas, but none of them really paid off. Then I came to the top and I just filled in this whole section that I hadn't filled in before. Another one of my reasons for adding so many of these balconies and structures to the back of the build is that this island, this floating island, is situated in such a beautiful sky area with all these other floating islands around. It's going to be a good idea to have balconies where people can go and look and admire their surroundings. I know I want to admire the surroundings, so that's why I've put balconies in. Here I tried to neaten up the stairways that would lead down to the balconies, but you'll see later on that I changed this a bit more to make it look a bit neater. Now it's time to build another little structure out the side. This is pretty much done exactly the same way, just building out a structure, although I used white blocks for this one. I just built out a square frame straight out from the curve of the wall, and then gave it a bit of a red roof, very simple red roof. And yeah, I used wooden beams to line the edges again, and then I put some supports underneath as well. Here's what it looks like now that it's done. This large flat grey area at the back of this tower needed a bit of work, needed a bit of detail, so I was going to do the same thing that I did to the very front of this build. I was going to build a small little extended window area with its own little roof, just to give it a little bit of detail on the side of this tower here. So here's what it looks like from the side. You can see that roof sticking out the same way all the other roofs do. I wanted to break the flatness of the top of this tier, so I put in these structures on the side of the towers. Originally I went for quite a flat roof, but it didn't look how I wanted it to look, so eventually I just made the roof a bit steeper. Put some support structures on the side like all the other parts, added some torches, and here's a look at all these structures now on the side. It looks a bit messy, which is actually what I wanted. I wanted this to look like a sort of mess of structures at the back here. It's not finished, so we've still got to add some things, but we're going to jump around to the very back now, where we're going to add another entrance. I've marked a little doorway where the entrance is going to be. Now I'm starting to build this front window section, and it's just to look ornate above the door. Then I came to the side here and I decided to design a sort of balcony area. Whilst we have a few smaller balconies around, I thought we could do with a really nice large balcony with its own roof. So that's what I came to design around here. Working with the curves is really tricky. Making sure that you still keep the curve a curve without turning it into a square is important. But to have these details on the side was an absolute must because these giant grey walls were just too blank without some detail. I wanted this roof section to be a little bit different, so I sort of angled it all down into one corner, almost like a drape of cloth. I played with the idea of these columns around to put roofs on these small balcony parts. And whilst I played around with this for a while, in the end I think I decided that it just wasn't for me. I've left in a few ideas that I had for the roofs. I'm going to show them to you, but I'm just going to let you know that I didn't use any of these roof ideas. And I'm just showing you these ideas in case they inspire you for roofing in your own builds. I decided I needed a little something extra at this side of the Coliseum, but I didn't want a huge towering structure at this point. So all I did was add a small crenellated area above the main entrance. I'm going to call that entrance the entrance of the masses, because it's not quite as beautiful as the other entrance. In the end, I did decide to add some towery sections to this half of the Coliseum, and I decided to do it by adding them right next to this crenellated raised area that I'd created just a moment ago. I just went for a simple 5x5 square, and I extended it out 2 blocks from the rest of the wall, and then I built another one on the other side so that it was replicated. Now I said I wasn't going to have towering structures at the back, but I did do this for 2 reasons. And that is because I wanted this entrance to look slightly more grand than it did, and I thought some towers would do that. And I also wanted a little bit of extra detail at the back. When I took to the other side of the Coliseum and I looked back across this side, it did actually look kind of bland without something to look at above the skyline. So I decided to add these towers as just a little bit of something interesting. And they're not going to go too high, they're not going to be towering like the other towers, but there is going to be hopefully something interesting about them. But we'll save that for next episode. On a previous video, I got a comment suggesting that I should build a gravel path and some shops outside of my Coliseum, and I thought this was a really good idea. So here, you can see me building some stalls on the front of the Coliseum. They're going to be little shops, and at a later date, I'll probably add in a gravel path as well. Now I'm doing a slow passing shot of what the back of the Coliseum looks like, and you can see all the different structures I've built out the sides there. And you can see this front structure, and the two little stall roofs, and the towers that we just added. I wanted to keep things busy. By keeping it busy, it's more interesting to the eye. I didn't want just flat grey walls. So I haven't quite finished the grassy area on the other side of the Coliseum, but you can see that this part of the grassy area is going to be much larger. I just wanted the island to be not a perfect circle, and I thought maybe I can decorate this with some trees, or some paths, or some other little stalls maybe in the future. We've done a lot of work on the Coliseum, on the back half of the Coliseum this episode, so next episode we're going to be looking at the interior of the Coliseum where everything is still looking a bit grey. We're also going to continue work on the things we haven't finished, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!